in air quotes, be a better actor, I have come out of it knowing, okay, great, this is how I use my voice. This is how I say things on set. This is how I vouch for myself as an actor and talk to the director about my character, etc. And so I started doing that, and he was like, you're really good at this. Can we look at the script together? And he went through the script with me and allowed me to, you know, he was like, what do you think is truthful to your character? What scenes are resonating and what's not? And basically helped, like, allowed me to make changes and collaborate with him.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the CFA podcast. It is just me, Indiana Underhill, with us today because Haeleigh is somewhere in the north of California watching her best friend give birth to their first child. So I am doing the other Lord's work, which is continuing this podcast with someone very important to the CFA community and to Haeleigh and I, and that is Izzy Stevens. Hello, welcome.
Hi, I love that you're saying you're doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
This is true words.
I've never been religious. Like, if anything, I'm more spiritual, but I've never been religious. And so whenever I throw in God or Lord or like something, and it's like I just didn't grow up with it, it feels like it means whatever it could mean to me, which maybe, you know, will get called out by a lot of people, but that's okay.
I like it. It's like both ironic and also like, yeah, but you know, the universe. And that's, I so relate to that too.
Like, it's a vibe. It's fine. We're done. Yeah. So Izzy Stevens, who is the creator founder of Indiespunk, who Haeleigh and I just recorded a podcast episode for, we're doing a trade-off, is an Aussie American actor and award-winning director, and just incredible entrepreneur who I am stoked to have because we met through Alexandra Wright, who's been on this podcast, through our CFA event. And it was Cook. Did you come to the Cook event? What one was it?
I did. I came to the Cook event. Yeah.
Amazing. And this is kind of what I loved about starting CFA with Haeleigh, was that we're building this organic community that seems to kind of like unravel in awesome ways. So it's like, you know, someone hears through word of mouth that you came in, and then we're like getting on podcasts. You came and helped us out at Cinegear and took over while I was out of town. And you know, I just think the love's going to keep giving. So I'm so stoked to have you here. So thank you so much.
I am so stoked to be here. And I also just love what you do so deeply because I think it's, I mean, first of all, I think it's so important, but also as a definite, like, I appear extroverted, but I'm quite introverted, and getting me out to any kind of networking event is very difficult.
Cool.
And which you wouldn't know because I run a community and I run networking events myself, but I just feel like it's easier to host the party than be at the party sometimes. And I knew I needed to come out to your event because too many people had told me that too many people were like, oh, you guys should totally collaborate. Oh, you guys are totally in the same. I was like, all right, let's get dressed. We're going to this event. And what I'll say is, like, if you're listening and you haven't been to a CFA networking event before, it was so much fun. And I definitely felt like I could interact and be a part of the community and like not feel so overwhelmed by the fact that you're in a room with a bunch of people and they're all talking. And it was great. So I love what you guys do. I think you're amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And it was, you know, we started these community events, and I'm sure you're similar because you saw that there was like a lack of that kind of event. And so it's like, especially for actors, and you coming from like that actor standpoint originally, is like actors, unless you're promoting something or unless you're like within a community in itself on a production, you're not getting access to that. And for DPs and other crew members, you're getting access to that all the time. And so it's like, where's that disconnect and how do we solve it? And I think both of our communities are doing that, which is just really exciting. So before I dive into the acting, directing side of Izzy, I would love to talk about Indiespunk because I want everyone to have this like tool out there to kind of use. And so let's talk a little bit. Indiespunk, what's the log line? What is it? What kind of stuff do you offer, and who's a part of the membership?
Yeah, amazing. So Indiespunk was definitely born out of my feeling of I was an actor, right? I was an actor for a really long time. I still dabble in acting, and I also am a filmmaker, and I became a filmmaker by way of being an actor because I was really curious about what was going on set. I started professionally working at 17. I know you were like, let's go to Indiespunk, but I feel like the context.
No, please. Yeah. I love the context. I'm telling you the other story. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. But because I think that I think a lot of people find themselves in this position and don't know how to deal with it. And I certainly found myself in this position. I was an actor working on professional sets, and I was like, what's going on? How do I navigate this? I'm really curious about what it looks like to make my own work, but I feel like a bit of a fraud in that capacity. And I want to be a better actor. So I want to understand cameras and I want to understand all of this stuff. And also I really want to tell stories. And as an actor, I'm starting to feel like I don't have the capability to tell stories my way. And I'm just sort of like a little bit of a puppet sometimes and like stand here and say the lines. And there, of course, that's so not the whole truth of being an actor, but I started to feel that way. And I think that was also that leadership voice in me going, hey, you love storytelling. And it took me a few years to really give myself the benefit of the doubt that I was allowed to make films, that I was allowed to call myself a director, that I was allowed to put myself out there that way. And when I did, I really felt like a lot of things in my life came together. I started to understand how to communicate with other people on set, how to run a team, how to lead a story, how to do all of those things. And I felt like so empowered. Indiespunk really came out of my feelings of frustration that there wasn't enough support in the world geared towards not just women, but like all filmmakers that were emerging. And certainly filmmakers from diverse, underrepresented backgrounds that felt like they didn't, this thing about imposter syndrome, like I'm not allowed to tell a story. I'm not allowed to, I don't know how to do that. And I don't have the confidence or the credits, and like people are going to laugh at me, or what if my idea isn't good enough? Like all of that stuff. There's a lot of that kind of chat that goes on with underneath our brains, I think, or inside our brains. And I actually feel like that is, I have a whole lot of beliefs about how that I think is like enforced by culture and society. And in order to break that enforcement, we actually have to make stories. But there's like if we get philosophical, I'll go chicken or the egg too deeply. But, but I guess like Indiespunk, to be really easy about it, to be clear about it, I help emerging filmmakers make films from script to screen. Very cool. I do that with mentorships. I do that. I have digital courses. And I also really deeply work with creatives and entrepreneurs on their mindset and how to actually navigate their careers, a few years in as well. So there's sort of a lot of different things that I do with people and help people basically make the films they want to make, tell the stories they want to make, get their shit out there in the world, get visible, get publicity, get yourself seen, make those connections in the industry, and really go after the kind of career that you're wanting to go after, so that you don't have to wait for someone else to pick you. You don't have to wait, for an opportunity to present itself. You are allowed to be the creator of that. And it's about you picking yourself and choosing it and saying yes to your idea. And like, I love helping creators do that. I love the people I get to work with. I feel very, very lucky every day. So, it definitely comes from my heart, and it's definitely the support that I wish I had when I first started out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of coaches and people who, support other creatives and other people in the world say that all the time. Like, this is what I wish I had. I wish I had someone going, hey, that idea is really great. Think about it deeper rather than throwing it away. Don't let it sit on your laptop for 12 months. Have consider this, and like, let's see how we can make this for no money, and all sorts of things. I'm doing a program right now called Micro Budge Bootcamp, and that is something I'm so excited about. We're about to finish my very first kind of cohort of Micro Budge Bootcamp, and the shifts just in a few short weeks have been really exciting. We've got people who are like, "Oh my god, I never thought that I could make this film," and now we're going into production, and it's very exciting. And I think, just the community is thrilling. I feel very grateful.
That's great. Yeah. I think one of the most exciting things about as well what you're doing is like, there's two things. It's like, one, film can be so isolating for a lot of people, especially directors, because if you're trying to get something made and you don't have a cohort, you're kind of aimless. And like, if you're not the most perfect type A person, it can feel aimless, because you're like, well, where do I even begin? Like, should I bring that person on now? Do I wait? Well, what will I need to bring them on? Like, but I want that person to, are they like, it's all of these kind of, you almost need someone to say yes to you from the beginning in order to get started. And that's exactly what you're enabling them to feel, is like, it's you saying, yes, do that, obviously. And they're like, oh yeah, I knew that already. Why couldn't I just say yes?
Why couldn't I just said yes? Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny, because I don't think that we just can't see ourselves like that. And we need mentorship. That actually is what happened to me. I was really deeply wanting, I had gone through film school already. Because I went to film school to become a better actor.
I remember this. Yeah, right? You're talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I remember enrolling, being like, this is going to help me work better with directors. This is going to help me understand all of the equipment. This is going to help me understand everything. And then I started making films in film school, going, oh no, I'm a director. This is what I love this. I deeply, deeply love this. But years went by until I actually decided to go after it and make my own project, because I felt so terrified. It wasn't until I booked a role on a Netflix, it was like a sci-fi film.
Occupation?
And yes, that was the one. And the director noticed, because I'd gone through film school in order to be, and I'm saying this in echoes, be a better actor. I have come out of it knowing, okay, great, this is how I use my voice. This is how I say things on set. This is how I vouch for myself as an actor and talk to the director about my character, etc. And so I started doing that. And he was like, you're really good at this. Can we look at the script together? And he went through the script with me and allowed me to, you know, he was like, what do you think is truthful to your character? What scenes are resonating and what's not? And basically helped, like, allowed me to make changes and collaborate with him. And he was like, you would make a really great director. And I remember that moment because it just like rippled through my body, and I went, oh my God, thank you. I feel like someone has just validated this thing.
Yes.
And it like really changed everything for me. I went home from that project and made my film. And that is also what ended up taking off. And like, I moved to LA with it. And it was such a moment for me that I realized you don't need, like, I never needed to book something in order to have someone take me seriously. It's just the mere fact of someone seeing you in that context and saying, oh, you're really good at this. And so that's what I do believe that everyone can be, you can operate in the field that you want to operate in. It's just about giving it time and attention and energy and, like, you know, support. So I think that is obviously why I'm such a champion of mentorship.
Yeah, I get it. I remember I similarly was at, I started 17 in this industry, like kind of building my network, and it was at Kamerimaj in Poland every year. And I could never understand why everyone was so willing to help and so willing to pass knowledge on or introduce me to the next person or give me an internship here or tell me to come to this award ceremony here or like get me a ticket to it. Like everything was so like, why though, you know? And but I realized
what's in it for you.
Yes. And then I realized it's because hopefully probably the majority of those people had someone do that to them. And it's an unspoken thing in film that if you can really get out there and find those mentors, they exist and they're willing to help, because film is collaborative at its core. And it doesn't mean just on a project. That means like as a lifestyle. And so that's why I call everyone my film family, is because it just feels so wonderful and so connected and close. And I love that you are that step and that person for a lot of people, because it's hard to find that and to go out and like garner all that attention and like networking. But for Indiespunk, it's wonderful that people can be like, oh, I found that solution right now and I didn't have to worry about it, you know? And so that's so wonderful. And I just am such a huge supporter of community and education. And that's exactly what I think you're doing. And I love it.
Thank you. And I also loved hearing your whole story about how you got into the industry. That was one of the most fascinating episodes. I feel like you should link that again in the show notes of like everyone go listen to that episode. Hearing you talk about you getting into the industry and like the years that you spent and the travel and like you just went after it. I just think you're such a badass. I love it.
You as well. Lots of love on this episode, which is great. This is the best representation of this industry at its finest, is when you can meet people who share the same kind of goals and values and you come together to make something even greater. So it's not gushy, guys. It's legitimate. And I feel the love.
I'm authentic.
Yeah, I'm authentic, guys, in my marketing. Let's talk about occupation, because I want to break down pretty much the exact thing that I want every director to do. And that is exactly what the director did with you, is we'll walk through that script and talk about character, because CFA is, the idea is bridging the gap, which means connecting departments to talent across all fronts. So cross-departmental collaboration is kind of the goal here, with a focus on stemming confidence from actors through education and community. What exactly you did with that director is what I want every single film set to be like. And that is telling the same story and communicating in order to get there. And so how did those conversations go? Like, what did it look like when you were like, no, I don't identify with that scene as an actor, you know, or as a character? Kind of what was that process like?
Oh, great question. No one has ever asked me that. That's exciting. So if I rewind back to before I went to film school, I was very young as well. I was 17 when I first started on sets, and I was quiet. I was very, like, I had gone from being a very you know, outgoing teenager and quite a rebellious, like outspoken teenager, to booking a role in a series regular role on a TV show, rocking up to set and being like, oh shit, I suddenly deeply care about this. Don't ruffle feathers, be quiet and just stand where you're told. Don't say anything. Right. But I saw other actors able to communicate with the team. And that's exactly why I went through film school. Because I wanted to understand it all better. But so I love what you're saying about that's what CFA really stands for, because I don't believe we all need to go to film school in order to have these skills. It's just about the awareness of the industry and awareness of these skills. So going through that, I remember a couple things happened. So I was a little bit ballsier when I booked this role on Occupation, because about a week before I'd booked it, I told my agent that I didn't want to be an actor anymore.
Got it. Wow.
I had gone through like 2 years or 3 years of not booking anything. After a really successful like 4-year period, I didn't book anything for a while. And I felt like, okay, it's not happening. I'm done. And I told my agent, and I had this like fancy US manager, they dropped me. Felt like it was all kind of like buttoning up. And I went, great, I feel really good about this decision. I'm going to just, do something else. And my, God love her. Here we are with the Lord again. Present in the call.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so random and I love it so much.
I'm with you. She went, no, you're not going anywhere. Like, just wait. Let's just do one more. Can you do this audition? The director knows you are. So I did this tape, and very, like you do 1,000 tapes and you maybe book one, it's not like, I was like, all right, let's do one more tape if you want me to.
Yes.
And I booked it. And it was funny because when I booked it, I went, you know what? This is your like second lease. This is your like second opportunity at life on the set. Like, what do you want to do with it? How are you going to show up? If this is your last time you ever act, what will that look like? How will you make yourself really proud? So I read through the script. I was really diligent. I went, if I get the opportunity, and I hope I do, I'm going to vocalize my opinions and talk about it. And it's funny because I booked the role, and then I received a phone call from the director, and he said, Izzy, and I really respect him for doing this. He went, I'm a sci-fi, like I see sci-fi. I know sci-fi. I don't know actor. So why don't we collaborate? Do you have any ideas? And I went, thanks for asking. I actually do have some ideas. I was so nervous that I had literally not even written a list. I'd scripted the list. Like,
oh God, I know. I get it. Yes, absolutely.
Like so nervous.
Yes. Yeah.
And just basically went, here's what I think, and here's who I think she is. And I think she's really tough. And I think that underneath the toughness, there's a lot of vulnerability. And here's how I think that could play, and what I think the physical, changes she might go through, and et cetera, et cetera. We really aligned on a lot of things. And he went, great ideas. I love them. And then when I was flown out to the location, in pre-production, he did that same thing with me, but in person. So he sat down and he went, okay, let's look. And actually did this with most, I think, of the lead actors.
Amazing.
Basically went, let's talk about, he went, and to I think something like, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, I've never been a 17-year-old girl with daddy issues. Will you help me make this character real? And I was like, yes.
What I love about this is, like I said, it's the exact collaboration that I wish every single crew had, stemming from heads of department. Because what it means for that director is, once he's gone through all of the, gone with all the actors and said, like, okay, this is kind of who they are and who they aren't, that informs the decision the DP is making. And so that, if I was DPing that project, the director has all of this reference that's going to be legitimate on set. And I can interpret that based off of like, oh, Izzy said that her character is going to have this arc and it's the toughness. So how are we showing toughness then? Yeah. Okay, well then how are we showing that daddy issue? Well then how are we showing vulnerability? And what is the visual language and how are we breaking it down? And if those conversations are being communicated across departments or aren't even being had, there's a lack of what's going to be seen on screen. And so it's like, what exactly you said to him is going to be translated exactly into shot design and it's lighting and color. Like, it's amazing. So that's so cool. I
love hearing you say that, because coming from a DP's perspective is so interesting for everyone else to hear that and know that you need to be in the conversation with your cinematographer as much as possible. I see a lot of my clients, like very first, second time directors, and they're going, I need to come with all the answers. I need to come with all the answers. And it's like, no, you need to collaborate on the answers, like bring questions to your team, allow them to activate their creativity. Don't feel like you need to do everything, because what you're talking about is so special. It's like you can visually interpret things in a way that I can't even fathom, because I'm not a cinematographer and I've never been like someone who's technical with cameras. So I'm like, you've got this.
Nor should you have to be. That's the whole thing. It's like, I don't expect my director to come being like, I know everything. And because like, I don't expect you to, that's a lot of work to do.
Yes.
And also like, you're not always going to be in the mood of like shot design and composition and like, and lighting and color and texture. Like that's not always going to be your headspace. It can't be. And if you're always there, there's something wrong, you know? And so, completely. So all of those kind of boxes need to be ticked by just hiring the right people. And so, and I love that that's probably what you're coaching and mentoring a lot with Indiespunk, is choosing the right collaborators. What, you know, we talked, I think, on your podcast a little bit about shot listing and who brings the shot list and things like that. And we talked about the dogma and things. So I think it's just so beautiful when people are more well-rounded about their approach to cinema and filmmaking, because we each come with a specific skill set of knowledge and understanding. And the director's job, in my mind, is to harness all of that and use their superpowers.
Yes, you know? I totally agree. Yeah. I love that. With you. Yeah.
It's so great that you have that comparison as an actor between being like TV show motive, where you were just kind of like, I want to keep this going. I'm not going to speak up, versus like, let's truly collaborate. And it's hard at the beginning. I can't even imagine how hard it is at the beginning, because you're like, I got this. Oh my God, it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're just like, we're going to keep it happening. But I love that you have that. Transitioning into directing, coming off of occupation, how did you make your first project? Like, what were the steps, and like, where did you need the most help? Things like that.
Okay. So I came home from this film and I went into, I actually had a little quick trip, and then I came home and I was in Japan for a couple of weeks, which was very cool. And I was like, this is the trip before I make my film. Like I had it all, it was so circulating in my mind. I could not get it out of my mind. And I came back from that and went into pre-production. I had written this script I think a year earlier, during a particularly like tough personal time. And it had been sitting on my laptop for a while. And I remember just being like, it's time. If I don't make it now off of this momentum that I've gotten from being on set, it's just not going to happen. So I just have to do it now. And I always say to, you know, filmmakers who are like, what's stopping me? I don't understand. Like, why haven't I done it yet? Set a deadline and communicate that deadline to your teammates. Like like build in accountability into your calendar. So I did that. I started to look at different crowdfund campaigns. I put a crowdfund campaign together. I just guessed the whole way through. And I then just called a bunch of friends who I'd gone to film school with and said, can you come on board and help me? Yeah. And which was amazing. I mean, I'm so grateful for them. And also I realized after that how important it is to have a lot of communication with your team, even if you know them well, and particularly if you don't, because my team, you know, they were like, yeah, totally, we'll come in and we'll help out. But hadn't, you know, some of them hadn't read the script until day of, which I don't blame them for, because they've got full-time jobs in the industry. Like it's not possible.
For sure. Yeah.
But that's just the vibe of the production was like, fuck, we just got to go. Sorry, I'm swearing. I'm Australian. Is that all right?
No, please. I swear all the time.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I don't even have an excuse. You're like, I'm Australian. I'm like, I just dated someone who swore a lot when I was young and caught on to it. So yeah, but you're good.
Yes, sorry, you don't have a great excuse like me to swear.
I know. I'm not as cool. I'm just Canadian, which is koala. Nice, but not cool. Yes, yeah. Kangaroo.
Exactly. So what support, I feel like I really did all of the things that I prepare and tell my clients not to do, which is, and most of the things, you know, if not all, are based on things that I've learned that I've like, I now know how to do that better, so people don't have to fail that way. And also just like, I think failure is so important. But I went through this process with almost all of the heads of department taken care of by me, except my DP, who I worked very closely with, Kate Hartman, who's very, very talented and a producer, and like, we'll celebrate her to the end of time. And we didn't have a shot list. We didn't have, we had like a rough idea of what we were shooting.
Yeah.
And you know, non-negotiables and stuff, and we knew tone for sure. But it was very much like directing on the go and just figuring it out and using the locations we had access to, guerrilla style filmmaking. I told this story in a podcast episode, but I basically shot the whole film with a very small crew over two days, or a night and 2 days, edited for like 5 months, and then realized I don't like half the film. I'm going to delete it. I want to reshoot X, Y, and Z. And we did a full day of guerrilla style shooting on the trains in Sydney, which is like, now you shouldn't do it because you might get arrested, but we did it, and I didn't think about it at the time. I was like, let's just go. And I recut the whole film. So it was a learning process. I edited it myself, I directed it, I produced it, I was the crafty, like I production designed all of these things I had done in film school, so I had a little bit of experience there, but most of it was just I'm making it up as I go along. And I happened, you know, to I again, another thing I tell my clients not to do. I only had one festival that I really wanted to get into, and I got into it.
Congrats.
Which I was thank you. I was very excited about, but I also am like, don't do that to yourself. Like,
it's like investing, it's like diversify, different eggs in baskets. Yeah. Exactly.
I now have an awareness of like what a film festival strategy is, but back then I was like, I'm just doing this one festival, and I really wanted to get in, and I was lucky that I did. And I was excited that I did. And what details are interesting to you on that? I don't know
there's so much to go into. I think that I was doing another podcast episode earlier talking about film festivals, because of how much of a nightmare that whole process is, that not a lot of people are prepared for, because they make the movie, they take an exhale, and then they're like,
what now?
Oh, where's that budget gonna come from? Like, how am I gonna submit to festivals and pay all this money? Or like, how do I know what a good like festival is? Like, Film Freeway has thousands of festivals. I know the big ones, but also like, should I do genre specific? Or you know, if it has to premiere only in America, like which one is it? Or like, you know, Toronto or LA, like where am I gonna put it? You know, and so I think the festival strategy thing, I mean, I would love to hear, just out of interest, what you coach people about for festival strategy, because it's so intimidating, and I don't think there's a real guide for it that exists I don't know, but you tell me.
Yes. I love talking festivals. And it's definitely something that comes up a lot on my calls. It's a part of my script to screen course. I have a whole course on film festivals, like the strategy behind them, because
hell yeah,
it initially, when you look at it, it feels like you're looking at, you know, initially when you look at the journey of going on the film festival experience, you're like, whoa, what a big fat crazy mess. How am I supposed to navigate this? And I think also people can get really taken advantage of, and there's some scammers out there, and
that's what terrifies me. Yeah. And how do you know?
So I always, a few ways. So first of all, I think it's important to note that there are different kinds of festivals, and when you can start differentiating them, it gets a little bit easier to know how you want to submit yourself. I always want to start with, before you even look at festivals, who is your film for? Why does it exist? What are your goals? What do you actually want to do with this? Like, being very specific about those. Like, I take people through a very specific kind of workflow about like what it is, where does it live, what is comparable, like all of those things. And then you want to know, really looking at your goals. Like, that is a big part. And when I say goals, I'm talking about, are you making this for like an environmental impact? Are you making this for platform attention and getting you, you know, a little bit more visibility as a creator in a particular role type? If so, that's going to determine what kinds of festivals you might want to approach. And the different kinds of festivals are like, you know, a goal of yours, so backtracking, but I want to round that out. Like, a goal might be, I really want to be seen as a psychological thriller director, and I want to star in it and get seen as an actor that also works in those films, because I love that genre. And so great, that is so juicy and specific. I always want to try and get that specificity. And then we go into, okay, the different kinds of festivals. And there are sort of 3 types. And I feel like I've taught that, I have to check what my modules say, but to draw on my experience and to draw on what I know to be true of festivals, you're going to kind of go to, we were just talking about Haeleigh Shorts, right? Haeleigh Shorts is very much both a community and an industry festival. It's filled with people who are there to support, you know, fellow filmmakers, fellow indie filmmakers. Most of the people in the audience are filmmakers or friends of filmmakers and are part of the industry in some way. And so that is like that community and industry hybrid festival. You also have festivals like audience festivals. So those are the three types, right? You've got community, you've got industry, you've got audience. And so they are appealing to different people. They're appealing to different things. An industry festival like Sundance is so revered and it's so sought after. And it also only can satisfy some, I mean, I know it's like the be all and end all, we all want to be there, but I don't think that it is something, and I want everyone to know this, like it is not make or break. And it is so not indicative of the success that your film will have if you don't get into it. It is so all about the strategy, right? It's all about getting this visible to the right people. My film, my most recent film, Seafoam, is finishing up its festival circuit now. And we had a mix of industry festivals, community festivals, and audience festivals. And I don't want people to discount how powerful it is to be at an audience festival. So I went to Fantastic Fest with Seafoam last year. And I feel like we spoke about this, didn't we? But the a
little, I think.
The amazing feeling of being at a festival that is filled with people who are fans of the genre, who are fans of the film. They're not there for industry. They're not there to make connections. And I love those festivals too. We need those. We need to make connections. If that's a goal of yours, I want to build my community out. I want to make those industry connections. Great. Now we know how to target those ones. And you know, this isn't an exact science. You're not going to go on Film Freeway and be like, I want like industry festivals. It's not like a, you know, an like option to search. It's not a filter. You kind of have to figure it out yourself. But to finish that thought on Fantastic Fest, being able to interact with people who really love the films that they're there to see was one of the most fulfilling parts. And same with Trop Fest, which was the film Phenomena was featured at way back when, my first film. It was 60,000 people watching. It was insane. It was so many people. And it was very electric to feel them actually experience the film. We can get so worried about our careers that we'll get all caught up about the industry stuff and forget why we're actually making the fucking film.
For the
because
audience.
We want to affect people and we want to speak our story. We want to tell something or make people laugh, make people cry, whatever it is. Like we want to affect people. And that is a craving deep within that has made you go through this grueling process of making a film. So let's people see it. Like, let's get the right people in front of it.
It's so true. And it's because, at the end of the day, you're making it for an audience. That's why we got in to share it. So it is, you do need that balance. And I think balance everywhere in film is so important. And so applying it to a festival strategy just seems obvious. So I absolutely love that. And I love that you have a course. So that is great. I think if anyone's listening to this who needs some guidance there, which is a lot of directors, then they should definitely, go to that. I'm curious as a director, how you evaluate casting and tapes and in-person auditions, what you look for in actors, what you kind of really love people responding to, coming from an actor background.
Oh, wow. That is a great question. Casting is so funny because I think I really do feel like casting is most of the job of directing. It's almost all of it. It's, being able to converse with your actors, having them feel like they live organically in the world. And however, I'm not prescribed to the thought that actors can only play themselves or their type. I really feel like playing against type is so much fun, and it's really not about, and I think that as a director, I feel very differently too. I think what I see as an actor that producers look for in bigger projects, which is like, convince me that you can play this, like convince me that you're right for this and that you'll, as a director, I'm looking for that electricity, that spark, that connection that's real and organic, and also someone who owns their space, which is very, God, if my younger self, as a 17-year-old, could hear that and take that in, I wish she could, because we want so badly to please, but we forget that we actually just need to show up and be like, okay, here's what I didn't like and here's why, and like let's talk about that.
You're a collaborator just as much as every head of department, or they should be treated that way.
Exactly. I deeply love collaborating, and I love people challenging the ideas as well, because I think it creates a better project. most actors will feel very terrified to do that. And of course, there's the right way to do it. We don't want to be obnoxious, but I think, I definitely look for people who can collaborate with me, and also that usually I'm looking for a lot of stillness. I'm usually looking for like a lot of but also I'm going through I do direct psychological thriller films, so a big animated character might not be right for my films, but I do like to find someone who's, and I want to say understands the script in a musical sense, which is such an odd thing to say. And I definitely, if you're listening to this and I might be casting you, like, don't worry. Don't worry about it.
Sing a little. Like do a little nose whistle.
No, I don't mean that.
I know.
Coming in like, I've prepared my number for your horror film.
It's a psychological thriller with like an element of musical though. So
yes. Oh no.
Yeah.
The ghost is coming. No, I mean like the tempo of the script, the lines that, the way that they might musically live together. I feel very connected to sound and very connected to music. And I think that there is a way we talk naturally. Here I am right now, like saying things in a musical way. And like, I'm trying to make my point.
Yeah.
And I think understanding or wanting to understand at least what the film is might sound like in a musical sense, or might feel like in a tonal sense like that, is always fun for me to play with.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one of the things that when you're talking about kind of actors stepping up as to kind of communicate, this is how I see this character, and not trying to just like, people please their way through getting a role, because then you'll be on set and feel like, did I make the right decision by also saying yes to this? And I think it can be tough saying no as an actor, because you are just kind of trying to get that next job. But I've always found that as a DP, and I think everyone did this, is like, and it's so cliche now to say, but like knowing your worth, and not like rate and not like the value you bring, but like kind of all of it coming together, and that balance. Because like, if you're coming to set with an authority that's not obnoxious or not, like you're wrong, but more like that idea of the improv yes and. So it's like, yeah, I get that, but let's also think about this. Yeah. There's a power to that, and the way that it builds story and character.
Yes.
And so I absolutely love that you look for that. And then I also think people kind of need to do more of that.
I totally agree. And I love actors. I really love working with actors, and I love working with actors that I can find a real sense of trust with, because it's not just about me wanting that actor and me wanting, the performance. Like I can want till the cows come home, but if my actors don't trust me, if they don't feel like they're allowed to be vulnerable and show up and go places with me, and I will go places with them and have them know that, right? Like, I'm here with you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right by your side. I'm holding your hand. I trust me that I will honor your ability and honor your uniqueness and your talent and your voice, and not take advantage of you. Because I think a lot of actors, we're it's a whole bunch of things all happening at one time. I hope I'm doing this role right. Am I doing this role right? Am I getting the lines right? I hope I hope it turns out well. Is this script going to be, like, I'm doing something really wild on screen, and is this going to be okay? And we gotta trust each other. So I think that when I find someone that I'm like, oh great, we can get on that level, even if we don't know each other very well, there's like a sense of transparency, and I always try to bring that to the table and really trust the people that I work with as much as I can.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I think with Indiespunk as well, I'd love to hear about what kind of case studies people are coming to you with initially, versus kind of, I know you're doing, the courses and individual mentorship and kind of the podcast, which is incredible. But when people come to you, what are they coming to you about a lot of the time?
Yeah, mostly I have a lot of actors, and I work with both actors and emerging filmmakers, and filmmakers that I used to only work with really filmmakers that were in the first kind of 1 to 2 years of their career. And that has really changed over the past year or so, where I'm working with directors and producers that are, years into their career, as well as those emerging filmmakers. As in like same level new level, new devils, but really it's the same devils. It's really the same stuff that keeps us stuck. So a lot of it is, oh, I don't feel like I'm allowed to or can possibly get to the next level I want to get to. How do I do that? And so it's funny because I do teach the practicalities of directing and self-producing. Like that is absolutely a huge part, if not the centerpiece of my business. But a lot of people will come to me and say, you know, this might be someone who's a year in, this might be someone who's 10 years in. I'm really struggling to, you know, X, Y, like if it was someone who was newer, they might say, I'm an actor. I don't feel like I have enough credits to really stand by that, but I want to, and I care about it and I want to succeed. And I have this burning desire to tell this story. And I've written this script. I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if the idea is good enough. But I'm really interested in, you know, figuring out if I can make it possibly, maybe I'm not sure, question mark, right? Like lots of uncertainty, lots of like, I don't have the confidence, I don't have the skills. And through the process, we go through not just the practical, here's how you move through a production, I'm holding your hand through that, but also the what's actually underneath that. Like, why is that a story? And how do we heal that? And how do we move through it so that you actually feel like you can not just survive, but like thrive as a creator, feel your sense of stability in the industry, and not just like, we're not just talking financial, and we are also talking financial, but we're talking about emotional, psychological, mental, like, you know, actual, you know, physical stability that gives you this feeling that you can wake up in the morning and go, I fucking love what I do, even if I'm working, you know, a couple side jobs and I, you know, I'm tired sometimes, but I love what I'm doing. And I feel a sense of it's growing, it's moving up, it's increasing. My opportunities are arriving at my door and things are happening and I'm building my community. And I think that really is what happens. I work with, you know, people over the course of 6 months to a year. And a lot of things, I just had a client say, I feel like I'm a different person. She came to me saying,
wonderful.
Last year, she said, I don't know anyone in the industry. I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm allowed to participate or I know how to do that. I feel kind of embarrassed about that, but I love writing and I have written all of these scripts and I'm curious, like maybe I should make one. And she just said to me, I feel like I'm a different person. She's been involved in like 5 different productions, made her first film and now making her second. This is like within a year of working together. And it's all just about like building up that confidence, getting yourself out there, doing the shit that you want to be doing. So it makes it makes me very, very happy. And it also builds a lot of like momentum for me in many ways, which sounds really selfish, but hearing, you know, that this is working and that people feel good means that I invest more in the business and go, I love this so much. I love helping people.
And it's hard because it's like, I think you either have people who a lot of the time are really strong in the creative but struggle in the business, or are really strong in the business and struggle with honing in their creativity. And so it's wonderful that you're tying them together in a really complementary way by guiding and pushing and pulling where's necessary at the different stages of production and also conception. So this is awesome. You know,
I love it. And it's funny because, you know, I was saying same level, new level, same devil. Like, here I am. I'm like
new emperor.
I'm like, hey, that can't say like, hey, can't like say the full quote. She's like, wait, let me do it again. I'm like that.
I love that. She's
new
gonna love
level, same devil. Yeah. Hey, you're here in spirit, even though you're not here right now.
I know.
The Lord knows where you are.
Yeah. Only God can tell us.
Only God knows.
He knows. They know. She knows.
She knows. So yes, new level, same devil. Might have a director, and I did have a director come to me saying, you know, I feel like I'm really having a hard time getting the opportunities that I want to be getting, even though I have all of this experience. I will say I work with a lot of women and non-binary folks, not, you know, only, but many of my clients, you know, if not most, are women and non-binary folks. And so I see the same things come up. That's like, oh, you know, I feel like I brought up imposter syndrome before, which I really think is a uniquely underrepresented label that underrepresented folks put on themselves based on what we're seeing reflected back with culture, which is again why I find it so important that people make films so that we can change that. But she came to me and she said, I have all of this experience as a director. I'm just not feeling like people are taking me seriously. And what do I do? And how do I get meetings? And I think why I love like one of the true things I love about this, why I love talking about festivals, why I love talking about the art, like what happens once the film is done, getting press, getting visibility, is because we actually have so much more capability than we think we do to get visible. It's just about figuring out how to do that and figuring out your way in. When we can get you more visible, when we can get people waking up to you and put yourself unapologetically out there. That's what I believe a crowdfund campaign does. I don't think a crowdfund campaign is about actually the money. It's actually about the marketing of the project and yourself in a certain role.
Right.
So I think a lot of the true meaning of the ways that I help people is about getting them visibility and seen the way that they want to be seen and the opportunities that they want to be seen for. And I just have always tried to do that for myself, and that has worked very well. And I figured out how to do that. So that's something that matters a lot to me, to help, you know, creatives not just make films, but like get them out there, get them fucking visible.
Yeah. And the imposter syndrome thing also plays into like the exact idea of like, if I'm this way, and I know a lot of people are, it's, if you're not like 100% know everything, I shouldn't do it yet.
Oh my
and
God, yes.
A horrible place to put yourself.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah, you're never gonna know everything. And it's like, for me, I had to learn that through DPing, because it was a very male dominated industry when I started. It still is.
Yes.
And a lot of the mentors are, and there's nothing wrong with having men as like your mentor. And a lot of my incredible mentors that help me in this industry are male, but it is that idea of like, oh, well, I need to prove myself. And so I can't make a mistake, or I can't fail. And if I fail, it needs to be in a safe place. And so I was terrified of listening to my own voice for a lot of the time. So when I started DPing, I didn't trust my gut whatsoever, and I didn't like the work. And I won't show people that work, because it was never honest to actually what the decisions I would have made are. Instead, I hired people under me who had more experience, because I wanted to make sure that the risks that I were taking were in like the confines of a safe place, that it still would work. And so when someone would be like, "Oh, are you sure you don't want to, like, you know, be a little warmer here?" I used to be like, "Oh yeah, no, maybe let's do it. Let's do warmer." But now I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And I think it's just like having your voice and the intuition and trusting your gut is going to be more important than being 100% ready.
100%. That is so true.
Yeah.
Our gut is so smart. It knows. I'm always saying that too. Like, I love that you're saying this. I think it resonates so deeply with a lot of what my clients go through. And, you know, even a client of mine is making her very first short film right now as we speak. And she sent me a message a couple of days ago and said, you know, how I feel like I've, you know, done this great thing of building this team around me that I trust. And now I'm wondering, how will they respect me? How will they, you know that I'm allowed to speak? You know, if someone says, "Hey, I think we should do it this way," how do I deal with that? And it's like, you know, you got to, at some point, and I always say, like, check in, give yourself a breath, because on set it's go, right? We don't have time. We gotta go. And you do always have time to take a breath and just to feel into your stomach and just feel into your gut and go, let me have a think about it for 1 second. I'm going to just check in. Let me have a think about it.
Yeah.
Right. And just helps you check in and make those choices. But it's so difficult. It's a skill that we have to learn. And the only way we're going to learn it is by being on those freaking sets.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people who are in that position, whether it be a head of department or the director of a project, and whatever stage you're at, you have to remember that those people are there because of you. And so those people it's your vision. Like, if you're a DP of a project, like, it's your crew that is there for you, supporting you. And so even if they are challenging you, it is probably because they see the project a different way, but at least they're challenging you because they want to hear what your opinion is, rather than just being silent. You know, it's like better that they're doing that. So I think it's just like always a reminder of, like, in that, when you're saying like, just give me a second, or just like, let me think about it, a reminder as well of just saying like, they're here for me. This is totally fine. Like, they don't think I'm doing anything wrong.
Yes, completely. And in the first few, I mean, I feel like this is a great principle for all the times that you make films, but especially in those first few, and especially working with a newer team that you're not as familiar with, have a shared language, have a shared foundation of resources, of reference material to point to and say, is it because of this, or what is it that we like, what is the where does the decision come from, and what serves the story best? Always come back to that, because we're so worried about our ego, we're so worried about like being wrong, and the truth is like, hold on, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about the film. What serves the story best? What is the best way to tell this so that it feels impactful? That is always the answer to come back to, and that is always the way to guide yourself in terms of your gut. Like, how do I tell this story best? What's the best way?
It's so great, because one of the directors I work with, whose film is coming up at Holly Shorts next month, which I'm excited about, Terry, he on set, and this was the first time a director had ever done this, and I wish more directors did this, he on set would make everybody take a deep breath after set was called with the camera. So my operator would go, okay, set. And then I would just hear Mikey go, all right, everyone, let's take a deep breath. Action. And what that did was bring everyone. I love that. Yeah. And what that did was bring it was made for the actors and him more, but because everyone's listening to it, they're like, oh. And I saw grips and I saw PAs behind me go, incredible what that does. It's the simplest thing ever. It calms the nervous system. You can be doing 35 setups, but we have time for 2 seconds of breath. And you could see on camera the actors relax. You could see their muscles like stop like constricting everything, and like their voices change, and they were able to just be present with themselves. And when I interviewed him about it on the podcast, I was like, I love that you do this. He's like, I did that for me because I was terrified and I wanted to calm down, but I'm glad it worked for everyone else, because it was like his second short, you know? And
good on him. That's great. And also, when you were doing it just now, I like totally took a breath. I was like, oh,
I know. I know. And it's almost intimidating to be in a setting of 40 crew and to do that. But the payoff is so much respect for the project and you as a collaborator, because you understand that at the end of the day, you're making a piece of art that you are all there to support. You know, so I just love little things like that, and I love taking ownership over projects. And so what you're doing with Indiespunk is like the deep breath before the plunge, you know what I mean? And I love that. It's great.
Wow, that's some good copy.
Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings.
Good shit. Oh, okay. It's great. Trademark. Okay. Clearly haven't read / watched Lord of the Rings in 10 years.
I watch it a lot. I'll fill you in. It's great. Lord of the Rings. I have so many moments of just like deep breath before the plunge, deep breath before the plunge. Like, and I use it because it's just so true and beautiful. And
I just thought you were being super poetic.
I wish I could. I mean, am I?
Yeah, maybe I am.
It's from Return of the King. As they're looking at Mordor, that's my nerd coming out. But okay,
as she sips a Zeiss cup. I love it. You're amazing.
My little like Zeiss camping mug.
Too good. So good.
Shout out to Zeiss, our first networking event that CFA had, which was fantastic.
Badass.
I know. I wanted to ask you about, before we wrap things up, what are some, besides Indiespunk, which we will absolutely be linking to nonstop, but what are some resources you send filmmakers to that people could research right now that are more tangible, or like good websites? Like, what are the resources you send people to get started, or like recommend that they check out?
I really love any and all places to watch short films. I think it's surprising to me how many people come to me and they haven't really watched many. And I think that it makes a big difference to sort of start understanding, what do you like and what don't you like and why? And a big thing for me is, I say this so frequently, if you're in my community, you've heard me say this a million times, but seek out things that you don't like and watch them and understand why don't you like them, what it is that is ruffling you, like rubbing you the wrong way, or that's not working. It's usually sound, but it also usually editing. But also, usually writing, like who knows? It's so many things. But find out, like figure it out, and figure out what it is that you don't like about them. I think that is something that you can just start doing now, instead of turning it off, because I found myself sometimes going to turn something off, being like, oh no. And then being, hold on, what is this? Why isn't it resonating with me? So that's something that you can just be doing day to day. And if you do really like something, why? Ask yourself, A practical thing you can go and check out is Dear Producer. Have you heard of this?
No, never.
So interesting. Producers basically writing blogs on their, experience with the industry. It's fascinating. Wow. They have a newsletter. Really recommend it. Love that. And also, places to watch short films. I didn't want to leave you hanging there. No Budge. I love watching No Budge. You can check out Vimeo staff picks. You can check out Short of the Week. Like there's so many places you can go and watch films for free that are fascinating and that really help you get the lay of the land on what you want to be doing. And I feel like I had another one for you. I'm just a big fat nerd for Shot Deck, and so
great stuff.
I really enjoy looking at Shot Deck. And Film Grab is sort of the another one that you can look at. It's free, and I'm not affiliated with any of these, but I talk about Shot Deck all the time. I feel like I should be sponsored by Shot Deck.
I use it for references nonstop, and also it's great because if you're an actor or a director looking to pull references, obviously Shot Deck's fantastic. But if you want to learn more about the technical, you can analyze the technical, like what lenses, what ratio, what was it shot on, like, what time of day was this? What focal length was it probably, so I think, and you can start to pull, I seem to love the production design. Who was the production designer? It's immediately there, and then maybe you go to their other work. So I love stuff like that because people look at it as like, how do I pull references? But it's also beyond that of like, I might not have a project right now, but I really like the look of that. Why? And it'll tell you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And for so many, and myself included, I can struggle sometimes to sit down and actually write a script from, with a blank page in front of me. I get turned on with images and with tone and color and texture. And that is also why I like filmmaking. I don't like filmmaking because of staring at a blank page. So I will actually, and many of my clients, not all of them, some really love the script writing process. But if you're feeling like you're not allowed to be in this industry because you don't, know how to traditionally write a script, you're mistaken. You absolutely can do that. Doing something like piecing together images and finding a through line and finding a story based on things that you really enjoy is so exciting and activating. You can actually write a story that way. So I love finding ulterior ways to help people tap into their zone of genius and tell the stories they want to tell, because we do not have to do this traditionally. We do not have to go about it in the same way that it's been told we have to go about it. We have to do it your way and find what that is so you can be happy and so you can enjoy your life and tell really great stories. So that's my soapbox spiel.
I love that. That is incredible. What is coming up for Indiespunk? What should people get excited about? What are you looking forward to? What's the next phase?
It is so funny you asked me this question today. I had like a mini meltdown this morning. We've got so many, not terribly, but big changes happening and exciting things happening, and trying to get the sort of, get the whole pancake to rise with the emperor and his new clothes and the stuff. The Lord's work. So the next month I'm doing another micro budge, which I'm really excited about.
Cool.
And because the first one has gone really well, and I'm so excited about this program. It's really helping people go, I don't need so much money to make the script that I've written, or I now know how to, like, people might come with a script they've already written and want to rewrite it for micro budge. Micro budget, or they might come and say, how do I write a micro budget script? And it's really fun. It's been really, really fun working on that with people. And I love micro budget filmmaking a lot. So we're doing that next month. And then I'm doing, we spoke briefly about my film festival course, which is part of my Script to Screen Accelerator, which is coming out in September. So I have a freebie, if you're listening and you're like, tell me more, or at least like, give me something free so I can figure this shit out for myself. You got it. I have like a how to, it's like mini, what do I call it? So many M's, movie money mini masterclass.
Cool. This is fun. An alliteration always gets
alliteration, alliteration that not even the person who created it can remember. It's all about budgeting your film, and I give you a 6K short film sample budget to kind of walk you through and help you understand what that looks like.
So this is great. I totally know we're going to partner up and collab on whether it be education or podcasting or coverage in the future. And so I am happy to introduce you to our community. and to everyone listening. And so I will link all of the stuff that Izzy has talked about below in the show notes. And I hope that everyone signs up for your mailing list and Instagram and things like that. Thank you once again, and we will see you on something very soon, because I know it'll happen.
Very soon, I'm sure. Thank you so much. You're a true boss badass. I love you guys. I love what you're doing. And I'm here to support you and cheer you on no matter what. Like, tell me what I can do. I will amplify you to the end of time, because I think what you're doing is so cool and important.
Awesome.